how you move your arms properly speaks to how this golf club is going to move throughout the motion. I know these are things that require a little bit of focus, but they have tremendous benefit. It's time to always bring your best, presented by the all-new Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X. Let's jump over here and take a little look at Joe's golf swing. Now, this is a nice motion. Club is a little bit long. He squares it up nicely. He's just got a little, we'll call it a little butter fade. He's got a little butter fade going. And the reason why is because when the club goes back, it kind of goes a little bit longer than we want it to. And then he kind of recovers it, comes out over the top. The face gets open. And now in this position right here, we know he's out over the top, the head of the golf club being outside the hands. This line right here is going to indicate that it's going to go a little bit to the pull side. The club head is outside of the strike line. He misses the shank. His club is now going like this. Toe line is right here, beautifully matched up to the alignment stick that he has on the ground, but the path through the strike is going over to the left-hand side. And what ends up happening is he creates a little bit of a pull and then a bit of a cut. That ball's starting to move to the right. Now, why does this happen? Well, it starts at that very start of the backswing and what's happening with the structure of his trail arm, the firmness, the length of his trail arm. And what happens is how he's moving his elbow specifically that's messing up what's happening with the club at the top of the swing. And so when we look at this, if I draw a line sort of on the side of the body there, this line here as it goes back should move pretty much in line with that elbow. So if I'm working the rotation of the body properly, my elbow isn't going to move faster than what I'm doing with my rib cage on the trail side of my body. So when I get to here, that's a great shot. When I get to here and I rotate, that elbow and my rib cage are all going to move back together, and then I'm going to fold up my arm into the proper position. Now watch what happens here. The club starts to go back, and it moves largely because that elbow is now starting to track back, and it's almost like a lawnmower. He's almost starting that lawnmower. That elbow is moving up this way. It now gets outside of the framework of the body, so it's right out there. And now what you see is his wrist is very close to his bicep. So his wrist and his bicep are like that. What we want is we want like an angle here of about 90 degrees. And what we want is we want that forearm to sort of be sitting right on the side of the body. I don't want it to get outside of the body. It'll get out a little bit, but not a lot. Now, he starts to get there. The only thing he can do to recover this is to work out and over because the elbow can't get in front of the body. And now he starts doing it this way, and he pulls across it. So this is more common than you think. Setup position is very, very good. Joe's got a good setup position. But what in effect is happening is this. This trail elbow right now is working this way, which narrows my swing. So my hands are very close to my body here. And then I lift up and go like that. And now I get a little bit of a bend in the lead arm. But more importantly, my trail elbow gets behind my body and my wrist is very close to the rib cage. And the only way that I can get down to the ball now is to come out and over. And I'm going to start that ball out to the left-hand side. Here's the drill. Joe, do this drill. And those of you that are struggling with how to get the club back, this is a fabulous drill. Here's what you're going to do. You hold the club with your trail hand about where you would hold it with both hands on the club. So right about there. Set up like that. Take your lead hand, put it underneath the tricep of the trail arm, and then cup your wrist. So you're going to cup your wrist. It's like a board. And you're going to hold that arm. Take the club back. You can bend it. Just take it back like that, and then put your other hand on, and then come down and hit the ball. Okay? So we go like this. Hand off, under, cup, up. And I want you to feel some pressure pulling with this lead arm, the lead hand, against that tricep so it doesn't wave out. Here, good, up, and down. get a feel of what that, I like to do this a lot of times. So we'll just do it 3. And what you're going to feel when you get up here is you're going to feel your forearm in a totally different position. And the elbow will have a lot less bend. Now what we're going to do is you're going to imagine that your lead hand, lead arm is underneath the tricep there. It won't be, but it's going to feel like that. And you're going to take the club back and you're going to bring it up to the top just like that. So it's going to go. And one of the things that you're going to feel is you're going to feel your tricep sitting against the rib cage, and it kind of stays against the rib cage. It doesn't slide over the rib cage. It stays against the rib cage, and it goes like that. And the club will then get planed nicely, and then we can go ahead and hit a draw. Club face will be a lot better position. You'll have control over it. You won't have a lot of bend in the elbow. So here we go, last one. No wobble in the club, and it's going to feel short. It's going to feel compact. It's going to feel repeatable, and it will be repeatable, and then you'll be able to get the club now to drop underneath, get from the inside, and hit a nice curving sort of drawing kind of shot. You need to make sure that you start this backswing the proper way, and the proper way is making sure that that elbow doesn't get outside of the framework of the body. Don't feel like you're starting a lawnmower there. Keep that tricep and the rib cage connected, make the body rotate that way, and then feel that arm bending to no more than 90 degrees. And when you start to do that, and that's for you, Joe, and that's for everybody, when you get to there, now all of a sudden that elbow can work in front of the body in the downswing, the club can lay down, get from the inside, and you can hit that nice draw. That's how you can always bring your best. Presented by the all-new Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X. Losing balance in the middle of your golf swing can cause so many challenges and make it very difficult for you to have consistency and a solid strike. It's time for an FJ fix. Let's go on over to the hub here and take a little look at Claude. Now, this golf swing is really, really good, except for one little moment. And that one little moment all of a sudden creates a lot of different challenges to overcome during the motion. Setup position looks fantastic. Grip is excellent. The lines of the shoulders are fantastic. I mean, this has the potential to be brilliant. But here's what happens. This club starts to go back. Pretty good position right here with first parallel. Now we get to where the club starts to elevate up into the air. And what now happens is pay attention to this knee right here. I want you to watch how at this very late stage, there's a little kink in the knee right there. You see that right there? By the way, let me tell you something about Claude. This is raining. He's getting rained on right here. You can see these little drops of rain coming. That's all rain. This is my man Claude working hard on his golf swing when it's raining. And so what happens with Claude is this knee kinks out, and now he's a little out of balance at the top of his swing. It doesn't look like it, but here's what happens now in the rest of the swing. So we get this little kink out of the knee right there. See it happen right there? You see it all of a sudden bow out? Boom, right there. That little spot, the lower body is moving, and now he's just a little bit out of balance. There's a little bit of weight on the outside part of the foot. And now what he starts to do is he starts moving the arms and hands, and the lower body responds late. So when he gets back to impact right here, now his footwork is really poor. This trail foot is on the ground, so now he's lost a lot of power. Now he comes through, and now what happens is that this trail foot starts to work a little bit differently, and you can see almost a hyperextension in this leg over here. And then it's sort of what will appear to be clumsy footwork. Pay attention to this foot right here, and what you're going to see is just a little bit of a clumsiness right there, where you could see him sort of regather his weight on the balls of that right foot right there. And then there's an over pivot with that. So all of this is going on because of this one moment that took place right here. So we've got to get that knee, we've got to get that foot, we've got to get that hip to stop gliding back. But it's really, really close. So here's what we're going to do. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to this other shot here quickly, Gibbsy. You see the setup position? You see the footwork right here, how straight on those toes are? We're going to change all that. We're going to take the toes, and at address, instead of having them face directly to the camera here, we're going to take the trail foot and just toe it out a little bit, take the lead foot and toe that out a little bit. And now what we're going to get is an ability to move the body, and a camera 3 is going to be really good here, Gibbsy. What's going to happen is now when we start to move, you can see the pivot of the body and the freedom of that. Now, when you go back to the footwork, what you're going to see is that when I pivot, this outside part of my shin isn't going to bounce out that way, because this toe being just splayed out a little bit is going to give me an ability to push back in. So we start to go there, and now from there I can start to push through. So set up, splay those feet out like that. That's great. And now, great shot right there. And you can see how both feet, the trail and the lead, are flared out. And now what's going to happen is I'm going to actually have a little bit of a freer motion with the hip, but I'm not going to have a tremendous amount, so I'm not going to let this club run away. And if we go back over to this swing real quickly, go to the top, what you can see is that this club has gone past parallel here. When that goes past parallel and all this goes over here, the weight gets out of the foot, the club is too long. It's very difficult to get through the shot and have the proper footwork. So what we're going to do, get in here, feel those feet flared out like this. And now, Claude, all I want you to do is just make your swing. And what you're going to find is that your feet are going to stay very planted. You're not going to have sliding going out of the hips. You're not going to have a loss of stability there, and you're not going to have an inability to get through. The other thing that happens is when you get through, you're going to see with this foot in this position that the heel is already going to be inside of the toe. When we take the foot and flare it out the way we flare it out right here, the heel is already inside the toe. It's already closer to the target line. And so when I start to come through, now my heel will start to work inside and then pull up onto the toe. If we go over here and we watch again what happens through impact, post-impact, this heel is now outside or away from the target. And then there's a pivot and a fallback onto the balls of the feet right there. And then it continues to over-rotate. And now there's just a loss of balance. So, and I recommend this for Claude. I recommend this for those of you that struggle with your balance and struggle with your footwork. Just take that toe on the trail and open it up. Take the toe on the lead and open that up a little bit more. And what you can see is now the feet are flared out. Now what I can do is I can rotate and stay in balance. The trail heel is going to sort of be inside the toe, and now it gets pulled up through the body's rotation. And as it starts to get pulled up, now we get into a proper balance. Now we get into a proper finish. Now we can actually use the body more effectively, and you will use the body more effectively, Claude, because now the body can rotate through. It's going to be much more economic in the motion to be able to strike the ball solidly and efficient in what you're doing with your footwork when you splay those toes out. And that right there is an FJ fix. The takeaway is one of the most important parts of a golf swing. It actually sets up impact by the time you get to the top of your swing, and it makes the game either really easy or extremely challenging. It's time for a transformational tip presented by Morgan Franklin. Come on over here to the hub, and I want to show you what's going on with Theron, because Theron is obviously a hardworking guy and a smart guy too. He's actually taken, what he's done is he's lifted up this tray that we put the golf balls in. He's got it on top of the mat there so we can pull the golf balls right out. So we know we're dealing with a very smart guy. Theron, well done by you. Now, that's great. There's just a little bit of problem at the start of this backswing. But this is a really good motion. In fact, I'm going to treat you to this. Look at this motion. It's a really nice motion. And what you can see is body works nicely, transition is good. But pay attention to the start of the backswing. And what you're going to see is there's going to be a little roll in the hands right at the start. The club is going to stay very, very low, and it's going to get around. It's what we call around and up. So that start of the backswing. So here he is. And now what we start to see is this. I'm going to hold my hand on this. There's the roll right there. That little rolling action right there is creating a real problem. It's going to suck that club inside. And then when it goes inside like that, now we lift up. And then when he starts to lift up, now all of a sudden we're coming back down on top of this. This club is over the top. And when he strikes it, you can see here's the golf ball right here. Let me erase that. When he strikes it, it looks like the ball and everything should be headed in this sort of fashion here. But where it's headed is actually right here. So what he's done is he's got a little pull, and it's low. So we now have a pull draw, which there's no place in the world that shot is going to work out well. But the good news is that the whole cure to this is right at the start of this golf swing. We got to get this club a little bit more on plane. Now, how are we going to solve it? Get my friend over here. This is another one of my thought out plans. So what we do is we set that up. Now, if I take the club back and I roll it inside this way, I'm going to have the club underneath this arm. And when it's underneath this arm, I can't move it at all. I'm locked. I'm stuck. I'm frozen. What we want to do is take this club back over that. Now I can do what I want to do. And then when I come back down, I'm going to be fine. Club's going to be in a good position. So we go here, over, and what you're going to get the sense of is the lifting up of the hand. So when I take the club and I move it this way, so I start to move it up, now what you're going to see is, let's go back to that other shot for a second. What you're going to see is my arms and hands are going to climb. So I have my hands right here. They're right on the base of the simulator. And when I take it and I go inside, they never leave that line on the base of the simulator. When I take my hands and I go this way, now all of a sudden you can see they start to get into the light of the screen. And when I do that, now the club lifts up over this arm, and now I've got the club in a good position at the top of the swing. So, get used to that feel. Now we're going to hit one. Okay, that was so simple. What also will happen as a result of this is my club face is going to get a little bit more open. So if you're hitting pulls or low pull hooks, your club face is going to be a bit closed. And the way you get that club a little bit more open is let it go up into the air. When it starts to go up into the air, now what happens is the toe starts to work open and up. And when that toe is doing that, when I get to the top of the swing, now I have my toe hanging a little bit. And when I have the toe hanging, now the club face is going to be in a more open position. And now what I'm going to get is I'm going to get a shot that's going to go to the right. What you're going to see is that shot had 235 RPMs of right spin. When I get right spin, I have a more open face. When I have a more open face, now my launch angle climbs, so that goes to 17.4 with a 6-iron is nice. So that's climbing up into the air. And again, I didn't hit this as hard as I could. That was only 150, but I'm getting comfortable with that little device over there. So I get the launch that I want with the spin that I want. I get a shot that does what I want it to do, which is it has a little bit of a spin to the right. So a simple thing that you're going to do, get yourself a little device that you're going to put right here. And all you're going to do is take the club over that. And when you take it over that, now we can start to come down with an open face and we can start compressing the ball. And here's what I can tell you. It's a really nice golf swing that you've got there. And what I love about it is there's a fluidity to it. Let me just go back to this so you can see this again. Good setup position. I love it. Look at the fluidity of this swing. You can see the power building in the motion. What a wonderful balanced position coming through. Footwork is excellent. There's so much to like about this swing, except for this very first part of the takeaway. This right in there, that little move right there, that club head is way too low at this point. It's outside of the trail foot. It's about 2 or 3 inches off the ground. That club's got to be up a bit more. And when it does, now all of a sudden, this beautiful motion is going to be incredibly effective because the club face will be in the right spot. The body will have the arms up a little bit higher. You'll have a little bit deep. It'll be, I'm telling you, Theron, anybody, you struggle with taking that club a little too inside, you're just going to do this little drill. Get yourself a little device with an arm coming out. When you set that up, what you can see is that this club shaft is just barely above this arm. If I take the club and I go inside, I'm going to hit it. When I take the club and I go above it, now I've got the club in the right spot. That's how you're going to improve your game. That's a transformational tip presented by Morgan Franklin. You hear it all the time. The grip is the most important part of the game of golf. Well, it's time for a grip tip presented by Golf Pride. Come on over to the hub. This is Lonnie. Lonnie, meet everybody. No, just kidding. Watch Lonnie's motion here. It's a good motion. Club goes back. He stays in his posture beautifully. He's not coming out of the shot. Works down, stays in it. Solid strike. Why is he struggling? He's struggling because at address, the shaft of the golf club here is going up into, well, it's sort of in between his shoulders and his belt line. Now, what we need to do is we need to make sure that that shaft plane is entering the body at the belt line, okay? And what happens as a result of this poor hold on the club is when this club starts to work back, there's no club or face rotation here. This club now is way down to the ground. That's one of the reasons why he stays in his posture, because he hasn't had any forearm rotation early on in the swing. The toe isn't opening up. The club is just taking back, and it's kind of shut, frankly. And now the wrists are going to hinge a little bit differently, and it's going to rob him of some potential power. And now he gets up here, and this is where you can see how deep that handle is into the palm of the hand, which I'm going to explain to you in just a second. And so now what he does is he gets up here. We get a little cup in the wrist, this cup in the wrist. And what we pay attention to, just so that you understand, in an ideal world, you look at a Colin Morikawa, the back of his left hand at the top of the swing is going to parallel this club face. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a back of the hand and a club face that are square to one another. Well, in this situation, the back of the hand is here, and the leading edge is about there. That's about where it is. Maybe not exactly, but that's about where it is. So they don't match up. And as a result of them not matching up, this is going to lead to a back problem. Eventually, this is going to lead to a back problem. So what he does now is he's trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to be able to do? So what I can do is I can come over the top and see if I can get this club face to open up in the downswing. It does open up, but it's still not what I would call open. It's really about 3 degrees shut from what would be a perfect situation. But he's over the top. So we have a closed face with a pull path. And the reason why we know we've got a closed face, you can see the club now is outside of the strike line. Watch what happens to this mat as it goes through there. It goes along the ground and it twists to the left. I'll do it fast so you can see it. That's that toe digging into the ground and throwing that mat into a circular space. See that right there? Look at how much that twists. And that's because he's coming over the top with that toe in the ground. So what we got to do is we got to get this grip set up. And I'm going to tell you, when we get this grip set up here, Lonnie, you are going to be thrilled. Now, here's how this works. In the hand, you have 2 pads. You have a heel pad, and then you have a thumb pad that's right here. The thumb pad is obviously connected to the thumb. Now, when we put the hand on here, what I want is I want that heel pad on the top of the club. I don't want it on the side of the club. I want it on top of the club. And so the thumb pad and the heel pad will rest that way. Your thumb pad's going to kind of touch the fingers. The heel pad's going to be really touching the handle of the club. And when we get that set up in that fashion, Now all of a sudden I have the ability to lever my wrists just like that. You can see how easy that is for me to do that. If I put it into where the heel pad is on the side of the grip and the thumb pad is on top of the grip, now what happens is it becomes very difficult to hinge the club. And when I get up to the top of the swing here, now all of a sudden I don't feel like I've got control. In fact, there's a little gap right there between my fingers and that handle. And so now I become very right hand dominant, and now I have to rework this over. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that in so that the heel pad is sitting on top of the grip and the thumb pad is on top of the fingernails. And now when we get in here, and let's go to this camera one shot if you would. Now when I set up, what you can see is the shaft of the golf club is going to intersect the body, or if we extend that all the way up, it's going to go right into my belt line. And now my arms can hang down nicely. And then from there, when the club goes back, I'll get a little bit of forearm rotation and the club will track right up to the top. And I won't do this. I will do that. I'll lever the club really nicely. And now all of a sudden I get effortless power. So we make sure that we have our hand on this club correctly, just like that. Come down, set up. And what you can see is that if there were a light coming out of that grip right there, it would point right in my belt line. Beautiful. And now, and it's kind of an effortless motion. Because what I'm starting to get to, because I'm holding this club correctly, I start to get a lever in my wrists. And that's a power source. And, by the way, the back of the hand and the club face are now together with one another. So when I get up to the top, the club face is here and the back of the hand is here, and they match up. So we make sure that we get this heel pad sitting on top of the grip, right where it says Golf Pride. I want to get it to go right there. Thumb goes down the shaft. The thumb pad is right there touching the fingernails or touching that part. Now set up. It just feels so simple. I got to hit one more just like that. And what I can tell you is this. This is one of the things that you can do every place you go. You just get yourself a grip, get a Golf Pride grip, or take an old club and cut the shaft, put it in your briefcase, carry it with you when you are maybe going to the office or something. You're on a phone call or maybe a Zoom call, and what you're going to do is just work on putting your hands on this club properly. And when you do that, you're going to solve a lot of the issues that you may have. So we set up like that. You see the check. My check is that shaft going into the belt line? It is nicely. It almost looks like a 90-degree angle between my spine and that club shaft. Arms are hanging down. And now from here, you just make a swing. And I get it in the center of the club face. I get a lot of club head speed there with effortless motion because I'm getting those wrists to hinge properly. It matches up to the face. And now what you're going to end up getting is confidence, because you got your hands on the club properly. And this goes for every club except the putter, every club. I want you to understand how to hold this. It's going to be the same for a 6-iron. It's going to be the same for a driver. It's going to be the same for a sand wedge. Make sure you get your hands on this grip properly. That's our grip tip presented by Golf Pride.